Race number 3 of the Italian F4 Championship coming your way later on this afternoon from the Red Bull Ring here in Austria.
very good morning and welcome to the Red Bull Ring in Austria ahead of round 8 of TCR Europe 2019. If you were with us yesterday for round 7, you'll have seen Josh Files take his second win of the season to retake the lead in the drivers' standings. But as you can possibly see from the camera and definitely from that sign, big change in the weather today. We arrived here on Thursday and were told that we had 3 days of rain ahead of us. But that rain, apart from the odd shower in the evenings, has largely kept away. Not so today. Already a wet track declared for this second TCR Europe race. How heavy that rain will be is what we don't know. I spoke to Josh Files as I was on my way over, and he was saying he would like it to remain damp because he wants to go out on slicks. He doesn't mind. I'm sure some of the others have got very differing ideas. You see there the tyre trolleys alongside their respective cars. And so the teams will have prepared a choice of wet or slick tyres for each car and potentially a late decision ahead of this second race in TCR Europe. 29 cars entered, and the good news ahead of the race is that all 29 should take the start. You may well have seen that big crash we had yesterday at turn 2, 6 cars involved. Happily, no major damage, certainly no injuries, which I'm delighted to report. And so all of those cars repaired and back out. The one bit of news that I do have for you that you may not have spotted overnight is that Julien Brichet in the Peugeot opted to change the engine after race 1 yesterday. Originally said he thought it was force majeure. The steward didn't agree. And so an engine change for the Peugeot, the blue Peugeot now of Julien Brichet, puts him at the back of the grid. But there is the man on pole position, one of the real characters in TCR, in touring car racing generally. Tom Coronel from the Netherlands is on pole. And that's the view across the valley to the military airfield that's just across the way. And thank you to my producer for putting that on, because we were discussing a few days ago. That, believe it or not, was the scene of the very first Austrian Grand Prix across the valley from the Red Bull Ring. And of course, if you're into your circuit history, this was the Österreich Ring, then the R1 Ring, and in its third guise, the Red Bull Ring. But back in the 60s, it was that airfield just outside the town of Zeltweg in Austria that hosted the first ever Austrian Grand Prix. We saw very briefly Gianni Morbidelli on the front row of the grid alongside Tom Coronel. Alex Morgan, we talked about yesterday, having made the switch from the Renault Megane RS. All sorts of suspension issues, I understand, still to be overcome with that car. And so Alex, to keep his sponsors happy, and why not, having elected to make the switch for the Cupra, but at great pains, both Alex and his dad yesterday, to point out that they may well switch back to the Renault if the problems can be sorted out. Alongside Alex then, on row 2 of the grid, Luca Engstler, a man with unfinished business here at the Red Bull Ring, has never finished higher than, I think, P4, he was telling me in the run-up to this event. And so this is an event that potentially could suit him, certainly from the performance of the Hyundais yesterday. And bearing in mind that it's a Honda and a Volkswagen on the front row and a Cupra alongside him, Luca could well be in with a shout of this victory from row 2 on the grid. Row 3 is Maxime Potti in another Volkswagen, the WRT team from Belgium, running Potti and also the Audi RS3 LMS of Santiago Urrutia, who'll start from row 7. And alongside Potti on the grid, another Honda, that of Dan Lloyd, reigning TCR UK champion, finished 3rd yesterday after a really good battle with Nelson Ponciatici. And Dan quickest in both free practice 1, free practice 2, although getting warnings for track limits. Let's confirm the grid for you then ahead of round 8 of the TCR Europe season. Gets us into the second half of the season. Row 1 is Tom Coronel and Gianni Morbidelli. Row 2, Alex Morgan and Luca Engstler. Row 3, Maxime Potti and Dan Lloyd. Row 4, David Kajaya and Nelson Ponciatici. Row 5, Josh Files and Luca Filippi. Row 6, Gilles Magnus and Matteo Homola. Santiago Urrutia and Dusan Borkovic on row 7. Row 8, Andreas Beckman and John Filippi. Row 9, Danny Nage and Stian Paulsen. Row 10, Tamas Tenke and Aurelien Comte. Row 11, Nathan Bihel, hopefully now sorted, and Jessica Beckman. Teddy Claret and Jimmy Claret, brothers alongside each other on row 12. Row 13, Victor Davidovsky and Martin Rieber. Oli Kangas and Gilles Colombani on row 14. And then on his own at the back of the grid, as I mentioned, Julien Brichet after that engine change yesterday. 29 cars then, as Tom Coronel, well, as actually Gianni Morbidelli leads the cars away, just pushing the nose in front slightly of our pole sitter. Come on, Tom. So they head up. You can hopefully get an idea of the elevation changes immediately on the climb up to turn 1 from the start-finish straight. The cameras, however, don't really do it justice. If you look down from the top of the hill, you really do get a chance to see the climb up from the start-finish straight. First of all, the right-hander at turn 1, and then up the hill through this very, very slight left-hander at what would, in a bike race, be turn 2. But for us, turn 2 is the right-hander at the top of the hill that caused the issues yesterday, and confirmation that that victory from Josh Files has elevated him back into the lead of the drivers' standings. 12 points now ahead of Julien Brichet. Gilles Magnus, and again another series leader at 1 point earlier in the year, now third ahead of Aurelien Comte, with Matto Hommler and Luca Engstler 5th and 6th. And I mentioned that this is the 4th race weekend of TCR Europe, and so it marks the halfway point in the season. 3 gone, 3 still to come, and we have the small matter of another race still to go here in Austria. We were here, incidentally, in 2015 for the TCR International Series, in the inaugural year of TCR International. 2 drivers were here on that day, and one of them was on pole for race 1. Not that one, not Dusan Vorkovic, it was actually Gianni Morbidelli who was on pole, and Danny Nage was also here for TCR International. And just looking at the lap times back in the day, Morbidelli's pole time in International was a 1:39, and yesterday a 1:36 was our pole winning time. Several drivers beating the 1 minute 37 barrier. So an indication perhaps of how times have tumbled and how TCR has progressed. There is Julien Brichet, having repaired the car after that huge shunt at Spa, and now sporting an all-blue Peugeot Sport livery. There is Josh Files, double TCR Germany champion, TCR Middle East champion. Mrs. Kajaya. We were chatting yesterday about David Kajaya and his mission to promote Georgia as a tourist destination to the world. Mrs. Kajaya, Mrs. K, was telling me that they've apparently had their flights from Russia stopped. So they're now appealing very much to European visitors to think about Georgia as a holiday destination. And I can vouch that Georgian wine is actually very nice. So then, Tom Coronel on the right of your screen leads the cars as they line up on the grid for this 8th round of TCR Europe 2019. The usual 23 minutes plus 1 lap. And just to recap, if you're just joining us, the race already having been declared wet, although I'm looking out through the window of my commentary box, and it wouldn't appear to be raining, if at all, certainly not hard. We'll watch for the windscreen wipers. We'll watch potentially for the umbrellas of the spectators. But no, Jessica Beckman's windscreen completely clear of raindrops. And so I think the wet race more as a precaution and giving the teams the option of going for wet tyres. So then, 29 cars, the full grid lineup. The lights go off. We are away. Tom Coronel and Gianni Morbidelli. Alex Morgan dropping back slightly. The all-important turn 1, Coronel first into the corner. Dan Lloyd runs wide behind Alex Morgan. So too does Stian Paulsen, at least. Oh, no! I was hoping that we would get clear of turn 1 with no incident, but just as yesterday, John Filippi in the Renault Megane RS involved in an incident in turn 1. That, at the very least, will bring out the safety car while the damage is repaired and the cars are collected. But Tom Coronel is away, and indeed confirmation that the safety car has been scrambled to lead the crews around. So the radio messages will have got through. Tom Coronel said last night that he felt that it was the start that would give him his best chance of leading this race potentially all the way through. And he did exactly what he said he would. A clean start from Danny Nage is the unfortunate second car Danny already out of the car, checking for the damage as the marshals arrive to recover the car and check that the drivers are okay. But it was John Filippi, there he is on the right of your screen in the very sorry-looking Renault Megane, and the debrief has already started between John and Danny. So then we have a safety car already here at the Red Bull Ring. And I noticed that Dan Lloyd had made up a couple of positions, obviously. He's had to give those positions back as soon as the safety car was announced. So the position here then is, with a safety car on lap 1 of this race, Tom Coronel leads from Gianni Morbidelli. That was our front row of the grid. Luca Engstler started 4th, now 3rd. Dan Lloyd is 4th. Alex Morgan's dropped to 5th, ahead of David Kajaya, Maxime Potti, Luca Filippi, Gilles Magnus, Stian Paulsen, Matto Homola, Josh Files, Santiago Urrutia, Dusan Borkovic, and Andreas Beckman. Those are the top 15 point-scoring positions. And unsurprisingly, the incident at turn 1 is under investigation. Yesterday, you'll recall, there was an investigation into the incident involving John Filippi, and just looking at the marshal getting out the way then. Oh, is that Nathan Biel, car number 12? No, it in fact is his teammate, Nelson Ponciatici, who just didn't get away from the grid. There you see, right in the middle of your screen, Ponciatici, avoided by everyone, luckily. But this turn 1, all important, and let's see if we can see exactly what happened. Yesterday it was John Filippi and Stian Paulsen. Today, here it is, towards the middle of your screen. There it is, and I think it was a little tap from Aurélien Comte, which sent Filippi into Danny Nagy. I suspect we'll see that at least once again, but if you look at the screen, there was a Peugeot in close attendance, shall we say. Yeah, that would look as though it was a tap from Aurélien Comte's Peugeot that sent Filippi. The dramas on the faces back in the target competition garage. There are our drivers, happily both out of the respective cars, the Renault and the Hyundai. Oh, Dan Lloyd has had a drive-through penalty. After the restart, Dan Lloyd, car 123, the Brutal Fish Honda, overtaking under the safety car. There is confirmation for you on your screen. And I did wonder, but then I thought he'd given the position back, but the stewards clearly thought otherwise. As Danny Nagy's car is recovered, fingers crossed we'll be racing once again. And so, Coronel, having already managed one start well, will now have to manage the restart. The clock's still ticking, as you can see at the top of your screen. Nearly 5 minutes of this race already having elapsed. And the car's just passing down the start-finish straight beneath me to start their 3rd lap. But of course, the race run on a time basis rather than on a number of laps. Unsurprisingly, fastest lap so far, Tom Coronel with a 2:10 on his opening lap. So I'm watching the screen to see if we will get the safety car coming in this lap. And that will be down then to Tom Coronel to manage the restart. Josh Files did so in style yesterday. Right, this is the bit, there you see. Now, did Lloyd get a tap, or was that just an avoiding move? Now, he definitely moved up after the safety car was deployed and then dropped back to give the 2 positions back to Morbidelli and Engstler. But the stewards clearly having seen things slightly differently. So Dan Lloyd in the Brutal Fish Honda will have to serve a drive-through for that move. But it is currently a Honda Civic that leads. The Boots and Gini Honda of Tom Coronel, and confirmation there that the safety car will be coming in this lap. And so we will be racing once again. The lights on the safety car go off. It will then head for its standby position in the pits. Everyone will have had the message that we will be racing again very shortly. So Tom Coronel just backs things off, allows the safety car to get away, and then he and only he will decide when this race gets back underway by putting the hammer down. Gianni Morbidelli goes with him, knowing that he has to stick with Tom. He can't afford to let him get away. So here we go then. Safety car has come in, and whoa, that is Paulsen, I think. No, Kajaya, excuse me, going very, very wide onto the runoff, the Austrian flag. But indeed, we are racing once again. The green flag waves, and Tom Coronel gets us back underway. Tom Coronel leads then. Gianni Morbidelli already under attack from Luca Engstler. Dan Lloyd still there, but we'll have to serve that penalty. And again, Kajaya runs very, very wide, as does one of the Beckmans in the target competition Hyundai. So second place coming into threat, and Dan Lloyd, I'm wondering if he's had the message, because he seems to be in the mix. But does he know he's got a drive-through? And 55 is also under investigation. That's Santiago Urrutia overtaking under the safety car again. That's going to be looked at by the stewards. Tom Coronel, though, managed the restart well and is pulling away. And it's Morgan, Alex Morgan, who's alongside Luca Engstler, running slightly wide and not capitalizing as a couple of cars go through the gravel. And that is Dan Lloyd, I think, in the Honda, and Maxime Potti behind him also running through the gravel. But this is the scrap for third place at the moment. Coronel leads. Then it's Gianni Morbidelli, then Engstler, then Morgan, then Luca Filippi, then Paulsen, Magnus, Homola, Files. Lloyd has dropped back to 10th, but he still has to take that drive-through. Then Borkovic, Potti, Beckman, Andreas, Comte and Tenker. Those are the top 15. So Paulsen, and that's Gilles Magnus running very, very wide as one of the target competition cars, I think Homola, getting very, very squirrely on the wet curbs. And I think you can now see that the windscreen wipers are on, and so the rain is starting to fall more heavily. Coronel, Morbidelli. Oh, huge slide from Coronel, just as I was saying about the conditions. And I think we can see just how difficult things are. So most of the drivers having opted to go out on slicks. And Morbidelli dropping back. Morbidelli already down to third, potentially fourth, with Alex Morgan alongside, but keeping it clean. Morgan, though, takes the position. Alex Morgan up into third place. Engstler through into second. Morgan now third. Morbidelli down to fourth and already scrapping with Luca Filippi. But look at that gap. Tom Coronel pulling away, already something like 1.2 seconds clear of the chasing pack. Engstler second, Morgan third. Filippi through into fourth ahead of Morbidelli, who appears to be struggling. Paulsen just behind them, and then also struggling appears to be Gilles Magnus, and Kajaya, unsurprisingly, into the pits. And Filippi goes through as well, so Luca Filippi into fourth past Morbidelli. Paulsen also takes a look. There's Files in eighth currently, looking at the back of Magnus. Lots of cars getting sideways. There is Maxime Potti. And it's Dusan Borkovic alongside him in the 62 Hyundai. Davidovsky. 112 is Jimmy Claret. Coronel then has opened up a 1.4 second lead now over Luca Engstler, but Engstler's coming back at him. Third is Alex Morgan in the Cupra. Good decision to have switched by the looks of things. Magnus runs wide. That turn one is extremely slippery. There is Dan Lloyd, still not having taken his drive-through. Another investigation. Tamas Tenker from Zengo working on the car after the 5-minute board at the start. So the steward's already busy. Lloyd then currently 9th, scrapping with Homola 8th. In fact, I think Lloyd has already gone through. And the race director, Tony Whitaker, was very clear in the driver's briefing on Friday that if you do receive a drive-through, you are only allowed to go across the finish line once before you take the penalty, as Morbidelli loses yet another place. In fact, 2. Paulsen's gone past him. Files has now gone past him, or certainly attacking him, going round the outside at the left-hander. But daylight between the pair, and Files very sensibly. Oh, contact, I think, with one of the Beckmans. And Dan Lloyd again. Lloyd having an absolute nightmare of a race as Julien Brichet goes through. Let's take a look back at this. And that is where Morbidelli loses the position, first of all. There is Dan Lloyd off through the gravel. So still a bit of a mystery as to what happened, but certainly one of the Beckmans was sideways as a result of that incident. Big changes then. Oh, that's Tenka again! And that was inevitable, sideways into the barrier. Huge, huge slide at turn 1 from Tamas Tenka. And because of the conditions, will that cause the safety car to come out again while he is recovered? Or will he be able to drive away from that position? To recap then, as we've got exactly 10 minutes plus 1 lap of this race remaining, Tom Coronel still leads. The lead, though, now down to 1.3, just under 1.3 seconds from Luca Engstler. Alex Morgan 3rd, Luca Filippi 4th, Stian Paulsen 5th. This is the scrap that we're watching. 9 is Josh Files, who just gets his nose in front, then has to back off as Morbidelli just switches back through. There is a yellow flag at Sector 1, but no sign of safety car as yet. So this is a battle worth watching. Paulsen currently 5th then, Morbidelli 6th, as Magnus is in the pits and out of the car. Disappointment then for the Come To You Racing RACB junior team, and indeed, no huge surprise, the safety car deployed while Tenka's car is recovered from turn 1. And already the message getting through, everyone backs off. So Coronel then, 1.3 seconds or thereabouts. It was before the safety car. Engstler in 2nd place, Morgan in 3rd. On course for a podium finish. Luca Filippi 4th, could well do with getting past Morgan and recording another podium finish as the marshals are on scene with Tenka's car. Behind Filippi is Paulsen, Morbidelli, Files, Homola, Borkovic, Potti, Urrutia, Beckman, Ponciatici, Comte, and Davidovski is up into the points now. Oh, another drive-through. Car 50, our race leader, has a drive-through penalty for working at the 5-minute board, working on the car, that is, when the 5-minute board was displayed, and that's taken a while for that decision to be posted. Something like 15 minutes into the race, very nearly. And so, all that hard work by Tom Coronel will go unrewarded. There is a drive-through penalty for our race leader. So that I didn't see. But you have to say, you have to feel sorry for Tom. Good start, good restart, but now a drive-through, which will mean that Luca Engstler will take the lead of this race. And the drive-through, of course, has to be taken after the safety car is withdrawn. Okay, let's take a quick recap while we're under the safety car. This was the incident on lap 1, turn 1, where we have... Now, do you know, seeing it back, I'm wondering if there was no contact with Comte and it was just John Filippi getting it sideways and tapping, thumping Danny Narge into that spin. That was the incident at turn 1 then. This shows the conditions at turn 1 when the rain started to fall more heavily. Huge slides from several drivers, Tom Coronel, our race leader, amongst them. That's Martin Rieber. And that's Rieber, either again or the same incident as Julien Brichet goes through. Brichet, by the way, is now up to 18th. There is Dan Lloyd going through the gravel. And Lloyd, I think, has served his drive-through. We didn't see it, but he's down in 23rd place at the moment. And Magnus, we saw a moment or two ago, and you see there the damage to the front wing of the Audi. That's potentially the cause of the retirement. This is the cause of the second safety car. Massive, massive slide from Zengo, from the Zengo car, the Tamas Tenka car, sideways, thankfully. And so most of the speed scrubbed off. But the safety car having been deployed while that car is recovered. So we're back live, under 6 minutes plus 1 lap. The safety car, though, will be coming in this lap, and so we will be underway again. But Tom Coronel, our race leader, since the beginning of the race, will be serving a drive-through penalty. He will be bitterly, bitterly disappointed. So Engstler, having had the message, as have the others, weaving to get the heat back into those tyres. So the car's heading down then to turn 3 at Schlossgold. And then after turn 5, the safety car should be switching its lights off, which will be signalling to Coronel that he backs the field up, ready for the restart. And then after the restart, Coronel will have to serve that drive-through. So dramas then in this second TCR Europe race at the Red Bull Ring, but not in the way that we thought. We suspected beforehand that things would be a lot more lively in this race, but not in this way. And also the arrival of the rain just before the cars headed out onto the grid, we suspected would have an impact, but again, it was uncertain because of the level of the rain, the ferocity, if you like, of the rain. Safety car now, lights off and windscreen wipers off, so things drying up as Coronel comes around the penultimate corner. Turn 8, turn 9. There they go, around the right-hander onto the start-finish straight, and again Coronel runs wide, showing just how slippery the conditions are for the remaining 4 or 5 minutes or so of this race. So then, we are racing once again. The green lights are on. Luca Engstler right up behind Coronel, but aware that he will be soon taking the race lead as Paulsen goes up alongside Luca Filippi. Filippi, though, holds the position, but Paulsen has the line for the right-hander at the top of the hill. Let's watch the battle then for 4th and 5th. Morbidelli's also there, as is Josh Files. This could be very interesting. So then, Coronel, Engstler, Morgan, Filippi around the long way around the outside, runs wide. Paulsen, there you can see just how heavy the rain is at the top of the hill. So Morgan holds 3rd ahead of Paulsen, who would be delighted if he could finish on the podium. Stien sporting a new sponsor this weekend as Luca Filippi goes around the outside of Alex Morgan, and Paulsen tries to go up the inside. Just as I was going to say, Paulsen has a new sponsor for this weekend and really could do with rewarding him with a podium finish. And I think... Whoa! Alex Morgan going side by side with Luca Filippi. That's Luca Engstler in front. And you can pretty much forget about Tom Coronel for the moment. Morgan loses the place and Paulsen's immediately all over him. And Paulsen noses ahead. So Paulsen has the position. There's contact between the two Cupras. Paulsen gets slightly sideways but collects it, but falls back into the clutches of both Gianni Morbidelli and Josh Files. So Alex Morgan now alongside Josh Files as they head up the hill towards turn 1. Coronel still leads from Luca Engstler, Luca Filippi, Paulsen. Then it's Files, then Morgan, then Borkovic in the 62 car, then Homola's there. And the race really coming alive in the last few minutes. helped in no small part by the rain, which you can now see is falling much more heavily. Coronel runs really wide at turn 2. Several drivers take to the runoff, and Luca Filippi in 3rd place is sporting damage to the front of the Hyundai. Paulsen's right with him. And Filippi dives up the inside and no contact. I thought that was a brave move by Filippi up the inside of Luca Engstler. As Morgan drops back down the order, Morbidelli's now ahead of him. And Engstler gaining an advantage through track limits. Car 30 is Luca Filippi, who is potentially about to take over as the race leader. Morgan now battling with Morbidelli. There is Morgan, there's Morbidelli, there is Borkovic. And Coronel must serve that drive-through at some point. There is Luca Filippi with a very loose-looking front end. And Coronel making no attempt to go for the pit lane. So whether he feels he can sort it out in the steward's room afterwards, I don't know. Tom Coronel leads, Luca Filippi 2nd, Luca Engstler 3rd, Paulsen 4th, Files 5th, Morgan 6th, Morbidelli 7th. As around turn 1 they go, there is Ponciatici, scrapping with Urrutia. Urrutia currently 10th, Ponciatici 11th as they come up the hill. 2 more laps remaining then. Yellow flag in sector 3. Now, why is that? So we're on the penultimate lap. I should have said, Jessica Beckman. And you can see the cause of the retirement, the front right wheel, which was damaged, I think, yesterday. One of the 6 cars involved in that collision at turn 2. So Jessica Beckman off in turn 3. In sector 3, excuse me, as Paulsen runs slowly. What's happened to Stian Paulsen, who was 4th and is dropping back down the order? There is Files going past Morgan. Oh, big slide from Luca Engstler. And Coronel has fallen back. So Filippi leads from Coronel. All change at the head of the leaderboard here with 1 more lap remaining after they cross the finish line this time. Filippi then, Coronel, Engstler. Behind, it's Morgan scrapping with Files to be the best British driver. There's Morgan, there's Files. Behind Files is Borkovic. And there is Jessica Beckman. Poor old Jessica parked up. And so, will Hyundai take their 2nd win of the weekend? Will Luca Filippi be celebrating after this 2nd race? Luca Engstler again runs wide, as does Alex Morgan. And comes back on in front of Coronel. Now, will the stewards put out a bit of a warning about that? Because again, it was track limits. And turn 1 is one of the 2 places on the circuit where they've been warned that judges of fact are watching for track limits. Up the inside goes Alex Morgan, so that podium finish I talked about earlier could still be on for the Welsh driver in the Cupra. Side by side with Tom Coronel, Hyundai 1st and 2nd. Cupra battling with Honda for 3rd. Just behind the pair is Josh Files in another Hyundai. Into the hairpin they go. Filippi, Engstler. Engstler looking to go up the inside, but doesn't quite make it stick. Coronel goes through, blocking Morgan, as Josh Files says, thank you very much, I'll take that. Files goes through, gaining 2 positions. It's all happening, the final lap of this TCR Europe race at the Red Bull Ring. And there's contact with Borkovic involved this time. Borkovic tapped into a spin. And we'll need to take a look back at that. I suspect there's quite a bit of work for the stewards to do after this race. Up the inside goes Luca Engstler, side by side. Oh, and there's contact. Filippi spins and is into the barrier. Was there contact between the pair? Luca Engstler takes the lead in dramatic fashion ahead of Josh Files. It looks as though it'll be a Hyundai 1-2. Just a corner remains. They come through the final turn and Luca Engstler takes the checkered flag to win Round 8 of TCR Europe 2019. Phew. Get your breath back, why don't you? After a thrilling final couple of laps, incidents continued right until the checkered flag, but Luka Engstler wins from Josh Files, and Dusan Borkovic cannot believe it. Engstler, Files, Coronel it finished, and so Hyundai 1-2, Honda 3rd, Morgan 4th in the Cupra, then Pontiatisi, Morbidelli 6th, Homola 7th, Urrutia 8th, Potti 9th, Beckman, Andreas 10th, Aurelien Comte 11th, Nathan Biel, I'm pleased to see, had his steering issues from yesterday fixed and finished 12th, and that's the incident. And you know, I'm not even sure that there was contact. If it was the lightest of touches between the two Hyundais. Just to round off then, Biel was 12th, Brichet claims a couple of points for finishing 13th, Jimmy Claret 14th, Davidovsky in the Honda finishes 15th and so picks up the final point. Well, I think the stewards will have their work cut out for them after this race. There'll be a few incidents worth investigating. And Coronel, even though he was up there pretty much throughout, Coronel classed as 18th. And I didn't spot if his drive-through had been converted into a penalty. I don't think it has. And that is the recovery scene of Luca Filippi as Luka Engstler drives past the scene of the incident. He'll head round through into the pit lane. And as I mentioned earlier, unfinished business here at the Red Bull Ring, but Luka Engstler has finally broken the run of bad luck. 4th was his best finish here before today, and he's very much broken that in style as we watch back at this slow-mo sequence of Stian Paulsen. Dreadfully bad luck for Stian, dropping back. Otherwise, I suspect a podium finish was well within his grasp. There is confirmation, and so yes, indeed, Coronel has had that 30-second penalty in lieu of drive-through, but I suspect he will be going up and trying to argue his corner with the stewards later on. So Coronel finishing 18th and outside the points, but keep an eye on social media and the official website, folks, because that may well change. David Barry from the Mira team, the team boss, comes over to congratulate Luka Engstler. So a race of mixed fortunes for the team. The other car, Danny Nage, being sidelined right at the beginning of the race after that incident with John Filippi. But the team's other car winning the race in style as Josh Files goes over to congratulate Luka Engstler. In fact, to get the congratulations of his team, I didn't see who he was going over to hug. So Josh Files having nearly the perfect weekend for him. Not quite the perfect point score that he would have wanted, but first and second in the two races have very much got his championship campaign back on track. And winning round 8 means that Luka Engstler has got much needed points in his quest for the title. A dramatic race 2 here at the Red Bull Ring, won by Luka Engstler from Josh Files, so 1-2 for Hyundai. Alex Morgan finishes in 3rd place, and so delighted to be on the podium. Nelson Pontiatisi, Gianni Morbidelli, Matteo Homola, Santiago Urrutia, Maxime Potti, Andreas Beckman, and Aurelien Comte round off the top 10. And Coronel, as I was saying, was given a drive-through for working on the car when the 5-minute board came out, not taking the drive-through, and so there you can see Coronel officially classified as 18th, having taken instead of the drive-through, a 30-second penalty. So let's talk to what I suspect is a delighted race winner. Luka Engstler is with Alfredo Filippone.
Lucas Engstler, what a race, huh?
Well, amazing. I mean, it was so tough. I knew that Tom is having a drive-through penalty, so I didn't want to fight with him and lose some time. In the end, I had, again, a crazy fight. I feel sorry for the Hyundai who was out, but in the end, I couldn't do anything. I was on the inside. He turned into me. Yeah, I'm so happy. The first victory and finally some good points for the championship.
And with the rain, of course, a lot of show for the fans.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, I was super happy when I saw the rain coming. To be honest, I expected that we were a bit fast in the rain. But yeah, in the end, I'm so happy, and it couldn't be better for now.
Well done. All the best.
Congratulations to Luca. I'm sure his dad, Franz, is watching somewhere. So, Franz, you can be very proud of your boy this weekend. Luca Engstler taking his first victory in TCR Europe. And there was contact, as Luca alluded to in his interview, but it was just a tap. And that's the result. Luca Filippi spinning into the barriers and compounding the damage that was already on that car. There is Luca, having made it back into the pits. And you can see from the body language. My Italian's not that good, but I'm sure I picked up on a bad word there somewhere, so apologies to our Italian viewers. Disappointment then for Luca Filippi. At the very least, second was on the cards as we relive race 2 here at the Red Bull. So race 2 at the Red Bull Ring had pretty much had it all. It had the drama, it had the incidents, it had the unpredictability of the rain, and it had a few controversial decisions, I suspect, in there as well. The national anthem then for Luca Engstler as our race winner. And so the German national anthem for Luca Engstler. Big beaming smile on Luca's face as he will collect the trophy for winning this 8th round of TCR Europe 2019. Congratulations to him. And 2 British drivers on the podium. David Barry then collects the trophy for the winning team, Mira. And then Josh Files gets the trophy for finishing in 2nd place before Alex Morgan, an extremely happy man, and I'm sure his dad will have something to say later on. Congratulations to Alex. That switch to the Cupra having very much paid off. So Alex Morgan finishes in 3rd place. There's the huddle together for the photographs, big beaming smiles, but I have to tell you that on my timing screen, there is a message that says the contact with Luca Filippi is under investigation at turn 9. So who knows what may happen later on today. Let's just confirm for you then that it's still Josh Files who leads the series. But Brichet has slipped slightly. Engstler is up into 2nd, Hommler 4th, Compt 5th, Gilles Magnus drops to 6th, Potty drops to 7th, and Andreas Bachmann has popped ahead of Ponciatici and Urrutia and is now in 8th place. 36 points now, Files leads from Engstler as the series heads into its 2nd half. Luca Filippi up to 12th behind Borkovic, who will be extremely unhappy. I think it was Maxime Potty that was involved in that incident with Borkovic, and I seem to recall that also will be going to the stewards. So that was the Red Bull Ring and 2 exciting races. We're into the 2nd half of the season, and in 3 weeks' time we will see you in Oschersleben in Germany. But for now, goodbye.